right now I am joined with Carissa, who is the founder of Apptuitive. Carissa, let me give you your flowers really quickly, and so people know who Apptuitive is, and then I'll let you fill in the details. So Apptuitive is an amazing mobile app marketing optimization company. Who has helped drive over 100 million downloads in the App Store, has helped generate $114 million in revenue for these App Store clients, and has helped over 500 App Stores. So obviously, you really know what you're doing. Is there anything you'd like to add about what
I was going to say, you have me practicing all my cold pitches like with these leads, and now you just stole my entire like elevator pitch for like the 30 seconds that I had. No, but you did a great job at, describing, who we are, what we do at a very high level. So all things App Store optimization on the organic and paid side of things, that's what we're focused on. For pretty much our focus is B2C mobile app clients. So you nailed it.
So you've been working with us, I believe, since something like October of 2024. So we're recording this in February. So that's been 4 or 5 months-ish. What has your experience been working with us so far? Like, how have you felt about it?
It's been amazing. I mean, we kind of batted it back and forth a little bit before the call, but your other client who said, they feel like they can finally invest in cold email. I think that was the first thing that I said to you when we had our first touch base too, because obviously you kind of got in touch via cold email. And I was like, wow, this is like one of the best cold emails that I've ever received. So let me at least respond. And then I kind of laid it out like, okay, if we're going to entertain this, I need to see X, Y, and Z. And this is where my reservations are, and just laying that out like up front. And just the care and just like the problem solving that you had in terms of your approach was really valued on my end. And that's been carried out, for, the past 3 to 5 months or so. And I think that speaks volumes, to your character and how you, go about doing your business, as opposed to, kind of the other conversations I've had with lead generation agencies and different firms. Because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like a cultural like thing in the space, but I think there's just like a general sense of bravado with a lot of these lead generation agencies where it's kind of like my way or the highway. Whereas your approach was very much, okay, what problems are you having? How can I really come in and help serve and really listen to your concerns? Specifically, like the biggest concern that I had was, okay, how are we going to target app developers? Like pretty much all of the conversations I had with other firms, that was kind of just like over their head and an immediate like disqualification, which kind of led to me having this like preconceived notion of, okay, maybe cold email isn't for us. And then you came in and you really assessed the problem, and the fact that you came with solutions, I was like, oh, wow, like I guess there is like, an opportunity here. So you making the case not only for AxoLeads, but for us pursuing cold in the first place, it was like a 2-for-1 special almost. I would say that that's been like the biggest value add with working with you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one of the things is you obviously have a lot of knowledge in the industry. So you were able to let me know like what the areas were of potential companies within the app store space. So the segmentation, which is an important part of building a good cold email campaign, was actually really easy, because it was like, okay, there are these like 3 different types of companies that could potentially be on this leads list. We're not going to be reaching out with two-thirds of that with something that only makes sense for 1/3 of that. So you obviously helped out a lot there with just your overall knowledge of the space. You touched on this a little bit, but could you just like maybe a little quickly share what your experience has been with lead generation in terms of outbound in particular before working with AxoLeads, and how it's changed since?
So in the past, we worked with one LinkedIn lead generation agency for maybe 2 months, I want to say, or so, and nothing really came of it. They were very hands off to begin with, and there wasn't that personalized touch. So I was kind of left in the dark with, okay, what's going on? How do I know this is working? They booked one call on the calendar, which was good, and that turned into a project, but it wasn't enough to kind of, convince me that this would be worth experimenting with over the course of, half a year, let's say, because I'm in the lead generation business in a sense too, with doing this for mobile apps. So I know that this ultimately takes time and it takes learning and iterations, and it's not going to be perfect the first time around. But that was something that I was always scanning for. So with that agency and then all of the other cold email cold email agencies that we were in touch with. I want to say I've had close to 10 different conversations with different firms. And I just, again, never got that sense of, okay, we're going to walk you through the process. It's just like, for me personally, I just didn't want some to be working with a firm that was kind of like off, operating on their own little island without any sort of insight or collaborative experience that we have with AxoLeads.
Interesting. This is new information to me that you had spoken to so many agencies.
No, it's
So
fine.
I'm
It's
flattered
fine.
that you chose us.
No, I mean, props to
Um,
you because the cold email game, I don't know how many cold emails you get in your inbox, but for me, it has to be like at least like 5 or 10 on a given day. So it's very impressive that you guys stuck out just from that one cold email alone.
well, thank you for that. Okay. Have you had a process in terms of just generating leads in general? I mean, it doesn't have to be cold, but just like what were you doing beforehand? Like what situation was Apptuitive in terms of like how were you getting clients? How were you getting sales calls? Yeah.
So the big three for us was Upwork, Clutch.co, and then word of mouth and then referrals through our partnership network. We invested in terms of where our dollars were spent before. It was on Clutch.co, which is a marketing directory. They were great for, like a few years, but it just got to the point where a lot of what was coming through that directory was spam and just like really low quality leads. And what we were paying was just not worth it at the end of the day. So it kind of like forced my hand to start exploring other alternatives like cold email, which I did feel the most strong about. But that was what we were kind of relying on beforehand in terms of the lead generation, because we were very blessed and fortunate enough that majority of our clients do come in a warm environment. So it was very validating in a sense to see that, okay, what we have to offer is also resonating for somebody who isn't even necessarily searching ASO or, paid ads in the first place.
Yep, definitely. So it's there. We were adding a little bit of a demand generation element to it
Mm-hmm.
now, and that's definitely something that, at least in my case, it's very refreshing to have that, not just depending on like referrals and just the demand existing, being able to position and touch on like what situations the company might be in, and being like, hey, this is something that might be helpful to you. Can we just have a conversation about it? I think that that's something in particular with Apptuitive that has been, rather successful, because
Mm-hmm.
people are actually like, oh, this is good. This is
Yeah,
something I'm interested in.
yeah, definitely.
So how has that changed for you? Because I think we've had conversations where you've mentioned, like this is kind of a new experience dealing with cold prospects. So, like, I think there was a little bit of a shock there at the beginning, perhaps, with the difference between them and somebody who's just ready to move on with ASO. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, that was by far one of the most interesting things, like not only within the context of like the business, but my career and just like personal learnings as, a CEO is, okay, we're dealing with two very different people. Like that to me was the most kind of even borderline mind blowing experience to say, okay, I've historically treated somebody this way for the past 7 years. And now this is almost like a completely new persona that needs to be treated almost in a completely different way. So that was super interesting. But again, it was very good because it definitely forced us to think creatively and outside of our own boxes, which not only impacted the cold leads that are coming in, but it's impacting the warm leads that are coming in for the better as well. So like, for example, revitalizing our case studies. I think that was the most interesting thing from a more tactical sales perspective that we ended up touching on, because a lot of the times, again, like from in a warm environment, they already know like what they need, and they're more so like they want to hear maybe one or two stories versus somebody who needs to be a little bit more persuaded to see, okay, I need to see a lot more proof of results. So working together on the format of the case studies and really getting a sense of, okay, what is somebody actually going to be reading? So like putting the case study deck in Google Slides and making it easy to just like click so they're not downloading a PDF, breaking it down by categories. Like that was also really interesting because we just have not done that in the past. And then just having a at one slide at a glance look of, okay, we did this, we got X result, did this, got X result, and keeping it super, super simple and not getting so far out there with, okay, we got to have a 20-page deck now, and we got to have all the stories and the numbers.
Yeah.
It's like, what are people really wanting to read? They just want to be like, or the term that we use, kind of just like overwhelmed with a ton of
Yes,
different
that's what I
case
was going to
studies.
say.
Yeah. And I thought that that was one of the coolest and most impactful things at a, executional level that came out from this experience.
Yeah, just an overwhelming amount of social proof, but not an overwhelming
Mhm.
amount of information. It's
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's
interesting
the
like
right
distinction
framing.
there. Okay, any like specific wins or milestones you could touch on, or just like what you have gotten most out of working with AxoLeads?
So we closed 2 clients, which is awesome. We're actually in the process of closing out those accounts right now and then laying out a path for ongoing work. Because again, that was amazing, not only because we closed the clients, but we're taking those learnings and applying it to just our service offering in general and really getting a sense of, okay, how are we not perfecting isn't the word that I want to use, but making each step so much more valuable for the client. That's been an incredible thing to come out from this. And then we're also working with a better or more quantity and quality of the leads versus relying on maybe, the 3 or 5 a month that came in. We're working with, a lot better brand names that are coming in. And we're overall, just from a feelings perspective, just more excited about the leads that are coming in as well. And I think that's a very important thing to speak to actually, is because we want to be excited about the people we work with. It's
Yeah.
just like, I just don't want to be at this point of where I am and where the company is. We don't want to be working with everyone because we're not for everyone. So now seeing that, the types of companies and the types of companies that are coming in are kind of matching our caliber and again, matching the level of excitement that we're bringing to the table as well. That's also a huge thing to come of this.
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting progression that we've achieved. I think working together in our conversations, we've been able to frame the emails in a way that attracts the higher quality leads because, of course, in the app store space, I'm sure even people who aren't very familiar with the industry, they know there's a lot of trash out there. And resonating with just like this very no-brainer approach is going to attract a lot of the lower quality leads. But with the messaging itself, we were able to, thanks to your feedback, be able to come up with the right approach to attract those people who are actually serious businesses that are running mobile apps. So
Yeah,
that has been a rewarding thing for sure. And
totally.
to go from not necessarily bad leads, but just not the best to transitioning to much better quality
Totally.
leads.
Yeah. It's like I want to feel excited every time I see Slack like too, and I just see the little Axo leads in bold, and it's like, oh, who like came through this lead? It's like, oh, it's Fubo, like, oh, it's Bumble. Like that's such a cool thing to come into. And it's like I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting that to come out from this experience, but now that I've seen that it's a possibility, it's like, oh, all right, this is awesome. Like I just want to see this, keep growing month after month and improving month over month.
Yeah. So just real quick, have you been surprised with the results that you've seen after partnering with us?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I think that goes back to what we just spoke about as well. Because I didn't really necessarily have any expectations per se as to, what kind of leads would be coming through the door. But again, it's like, oh, we got Bumble to buy on this. Oh, we got Fubo to buy on this. Oh, we got Headway to buy on this. It's like, okay, wow. That's very validating in a sense that, that messaging is still resonating at these, kind of quote unquote bigger companies in the space or more established household name brands. So I think that was the most surprising thing and exciting thing too at the same time to come out working together with you guys.
Yeah, cool. So now I just, Carissa, you're one of my favorite clients. I think I tell you this every time I speak to you. Do you have any advice for any of our other clients to help them get the most out of our services and partnerships?
So,
Also,
like,
you guys are watching too. You're also the best.
but not as good. I would say to ask the right questions. That's by far, I think, the best advice I would give to, any existing clients or any prospective clients. And then ask the right questions and then don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, Sergio has been just like incredibly receptive and incredibly open to any of my questions, that I have. And even with the thing like Apptuitive, for example. So we always spitball and brainstorm different ideas, which is why I love coming to our one-on-one calls too. So just experimenting with different things like, okay, how can we make this campaign better? How can we think like outside the box? How can I get myself out of the way, as a CEO and founder and, probably coming to the table with a bunch of preconceived notions and really let Sergio do his thing, for lack of a better term, but understanding the right questions to ask you in order to get that to happen. I would say that that's probably the best advice that I could give to, again, any of your existing clients or anyone who's interested in working together with you guys.
Okay, thank you. And now, just for anybody watching this, say that they're like, got an email from us, maybe they saw a post on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, they checked out this YouTube video and they are on the fence about whether or not they should book a call with us, what would you tell them?
He has a free trial for a reason. Take advantage of it. You can't go wrong with just taking advantage of something that is free. Like, he's been doing this for years at this point. He knows what he's doing. And for me, because I'm going to like speak to everyone else as if I was speaking to myself, because the biggest thing again that I had to learn was just getting out of my own way and just like getting on the call, like letting you approach this, like without, again, myself getting in the way with any preconceived notions or saying like, I would do it this way, and just letting you have, full creative reins during that, free trial period. Like, there's no harm that could come out from that. So that's what I would say in terms of the advice.
All right. Amazing. Well, thanks so much, Carissa, for taking the time to speak with me today. Like Carissa said, there is a free trial that you can use completely commitment free. If you don't like the results, you don't have to continue to work with us. It's linked in the description to apply. Just go on that link and you'll see the future instructions. Thanks, Carissa.
You got it.